Welcome back to Jon S Sports channel where we do everything Championship, League One and even running. And today's game week 13 of the Championship, and we're going to preview and give us our predictions for game week 13 games. We're going to start on Friday night where Luton Town are home against visitors West Brom. And if we look at the stats there, it's quite an interesting mix because this, of course, is a top-of-the-table clash. Well, you would expect it. 22nd place Luton versus 5th place West Brom. And West Brom were at the top of the league. We're thinking, obviously, going to be West Brom winning, isn't it? But Luton Town have been playing really well. I thought that they played extremely well to be 2-0 up against Coventry. And, you just have to worry about how they let Coventry come back and win the game. But their technicality and their skills were certainly showing. It's just not, with only one win in the last 6, we have to think about this and think, well, things just aren't turning out for Luton. But run of the green? I don't know. But they are playing good football, and they certainly don't appear to be playing the sort of standard football that I would expect of a team in 22nd place. Absolutely not. This is madness, surely. And they're playing a West Brom team that have drawn their last 4. 2 defeats before that against Borough and Sheffield Wednesday. And you have to worry that their clinicality up front just hasn't been there. I mean, what is it? 0-0, 0-0. 0-0 against Cardiff, 0-0 against Blackburn, 1-1 against Oxford, 0-0 against Millwall. They lost 1-0 against Borough, and the only time they scored more than 0 or 1 was the game before that, where they lost 3-2 against Sheffield Wednesday away. And you have to think, where's the problem? Well, when I've been watching the games, I don't know whether you think the same. Please comment down below, like and subscribe, obviously. But what I've seen is West Brom just miss that clinical edge at the end. Their shots are they're aimed haplessly towards the goal. And I don't really see anything magical about placing the shot or trying to make sure it's on target. I've gone into the West Brom Cardiff game where it was 0-0. 19 shots for West Brom. 19 shots from 64% possession. That's okay, but 4 on target. I mean, if you're going to put 19 shots on at the goal, surely a team in the who are 5th and who were 1st should be putting at least 30%, 40, 50% at target. And they just don't seem to be clinical enough to get them on target, and certainly not to get it in the back of the net. And I think the goals that they're not scoring is very much shown in the results. 4 draws out of the last 4, 3 of them 0-0. Now that does mean that I'm trying to think where I would put it. And then I'm looking at where you guys are putting it. Now let's just read some of your predictions out there. You guys out there. 0-0. We've got Luton at home, remember. 0-0, 2-1, 2-1, 1-2, 1-2, and 1-0. Now, most people out there are going 2-1. And they're sort of going, it's split between Luton and West Brom. Now, we know that Luton can score 1 or 2 goals. I'm just worried that I'm worried which way to put it, because I can see that all of you are really quite on the fence, and I'm so on the fence. I've just swapped it round. So this could go either way. I have just swapped it round. I'm actually going to go Luton 2. West Brom 1, and it could be, I don't think it's going to be a draw. I think it's going to be one way or the other. I've gone for Luton. Don't be surprised if I'm completely wrong, go the other direction. Because this is one of the toughest Friday night games I've seen in quite a while. And we'll go on to Blackburn versus Sheffield United. So we go on to Saturday's games, and we have to go to Blackburn versus Sheffield United, and I'll go through your predictions first, because this is I do take everybody's predictions and score predictions absolutely to heart. 1-1, 1-1, 1-1, 2-1 to Sheffield United, 1-1, 1-1. Now, nearly everybody I've been listening to and been reading is going for a 1-1 draw here, and you can see why. Sheffield United just don't seem to be firing on all cylinders at the moment. When they do score, it tends to be one or maybe two goals, but I think at Leeds, that it showed at Leeds, I think the most, they showed that they had class, but they just didn't have any bite up front. And occasionally, just occasionally, like at Portsmouth, they just don't seem to have bite up front. When, coming down from the Premier League, you would expect them to have maintained that bite up front. And I've heard a lot of Sheffield United fans complaining that perhaps Kai was not quite that upper Championship striker they need, and they need an excellent Premier League type striker. I would probably agree with that. I think that Kiefer was extremely good in the Championship, but whether I'd put him at the top end of the league, I'm not quite sure. And they're playing a Blackburn side that have been having the run of the green and doing absolutely excellent. 6th place Blackburn, 4th place Sheffield United. A pretty eclectic mix here of scores, with Blackburn lose, draw, as we go backwards, lose, draw, win, draw, lose, draw, win, lose, win. You can see it's all over the place. Sometimes they play average and win, sometimes they play average and lose. But what I'm saying is they're very, very consistent, and I don't really see any. I think that they are slightly better at home. That bit is probably the most obvious thing with the results and with their form. But I think Sheffield United can be very, very dogged, very, very determined, and this one is there's two different types of team, and it could very well mean that one of those styles of play will absolutely flounder the other side. And they'll walk away with it, and it could be either team that walks away with it. I'm going to go for Blackburn 1, Sheffield United 1, but I've got a feeling this could be one of those strange games where you get a 0-2 or a 2-0. But I'm going to go with 1-1, and then we go on to Oxford versus Swansea. So Oxford versus Swansea, Oxford in 14th, Swansea in 12th, and surely this is another one of those games that could end up 1-1, couldn't it? It's certainly one of those a pairing of teams that score 0-1-2. We tend not to get massively high scoring games, although Oxford are quite capable of scoring a lot, and we saw from the beginning of the season that Swansea can as well. So we've got a very, very evenly matched team, an Oxford team that were scoring quite well at the beginning of the season, perhaps not coming out with the results that they deserved or expected during the game, but scoring very well against a Swansea team that also started, I think, really well and showed that they could score lots of goals. And of late, none of the last 6 games for either team have been a win. Swansea, no goals in the last 5. Just check that, make sure I got it right. Yeah, because Bristol City at home 1-1 was the last time they scored. And only 8 all season. Wow, you have to think that they showed so much ability to score at the beginning of the season, and I could see that they had this ability to score at the beginning of the season, and it was obvious. But to only score 8 since that first couple of games, where you're thinking this team could score, this team could really, and all of a sudden it seems to have died down. And I think, Swansea fans, if you can get that look back that you got at the beginning of the season, you could go quite a way up that table, and you could be challenging for. It's that flat. You could be challenging for a top six, but you need to be able to show that class and that style up front. And I just think that's missing, and it's really strange because we know that they could do it, and Oxford's the same, and I just don't know which way to put it. The only thing I can say is that out of the last six, they both lost the last one. So if we wipe off that, the five before that were all draws for Oxford, and they were 3 draws and 2 defeats for Swansea. Oxford are quite good at home. I think I'm just going to edge it for Oxford, but this is going to be so bloody close, and Swansea are going to be wanting to score more. They're going to be wanting to prove that it wasn't a fluke in those first couple of games where they looked like they could score a hell of a lot this season. Tell me in comments down below if you think the same, because not everybody thinks the same. A lot of people think I'm totally mad when I talk about those first couple of games of Swansea. Swansea fans, what do you think? Tell me down below, please. I'd be happy to tell me I'm talking a load of rubbish if you want. Just comment and tell me. I'm going to go with Oxford 1, Swansea 0. But can Swansea prove me wrong and get that mojo back? Possibly. Let's have a look and see. Stoke City versus Derby, and Stoke's defence has been rocky quite often, and sometimes they make such stupid mistakes, and I keep seeing them get away with it, but obviously they don't always get away with it. And against a Derby County team that have been 3 draws in 3, Hull, Oxford and Millwall, all 1-1. And before that, a 2-0 win at home at QPR, and then 2 defeats at home and away, Sunderland and Norwich, 2-0 and 2-3. So they are actually doing a decent shut-up shop and try and just not lose the game. And that tends to be Warney's sort of thing. If they're playing through a bad period, he'll try and play this shut-up shop and don't lose tactic. And it's working. It's working. I mean, it's 4 games undefeated. Yes, 3 of them are draws. However, it's 4 games undefeated, which is no mean feat in such a good championship. So which way do I go? Because it's quite difficult. I think that Stoke City want to be able to come back now. They've had 2 games away from home, 2 defeats, 1 in the Carabao Cup and 1 against Sheffield. Now, I think they played really well against Southampton in the Carabao Cup, 3-2. And they started to play after a while. They started to play really well. I don't think they played really well at the beginning, but I think they came back and started to show their guts and their guile after a short while. And it's that makes me turn to Stoke City, and it's only that, because if it wasn't for the Southampton game, I'd probably be agreeing with most of you and saying 1-1. So what are you saying? 1-1, 1-1, 2-2, 0-1, 2-0, 1-1. And I would be going 1-1. However, I have to actually play my joker here. So I'm playing my joker because I'm going away from... There's nobody that's gone for this score. And I'm going to go with Stoke City 1, Derby 0. Purely because I think Stoke City, away at Southampton, showed just what they could do if they put their mind to it. And I just think that defence, if it can tighten up a little bit at home with the crowd, could just nick this one. But don't be surprised if all of you get it right and it's either a draw or a sneaky 1-0 win to Derby County. So we then go to Cardiff versus Norwich, and it's Cardiff in 20th versus Norwich in 8th. Let me just pull that one up. Now we see Norwich down near the bottom, surged up the table, and they really deserve this 8th position at the minute. They've been doing so well, no defeats in the last 6. And if we go backwards, it's a draw, a draw, a draw, a win, a draw, a win. But they're always letting goals. They're always letting goals in, aren't they? Norwich, 1 clean sheet in their last 8 games, which shows that they are actually letting in quite, they're consistently letting in that. Well, it was 3-3 at home to Borough, it was 2-2 away at Preston, it was 1-1 away at Stoke, a 4-0 win at home to Hull, but then a 1-1 at home to Leeds, and a 3-2 win away at Derby. So you see, Norwich's defence is not as tight as it should be, and they've got some class in that side. They should be absolutely pushing for clean sheets, certainly more than 1 in 8 against a Cardiff side that are doing really well, 20th, but. If you look through it and you go backwards in time, a draw, a win, a win, a draw, a win, a lose. Only 1 defeat, and that was 6 games ago in the last 6, and that was 4-1 against Hull. And you really have to think, I mean, it was even included a 5-0 home win against Plymouth, and Plymouth have been doing really, really well. Obviously not as well away from home, so yeah, they are weaker away. But I think Cardiff have shown that they can score, and they can score lots if the game goes as they plan. I think they're going to cause a bit of a stir here. And what are you saying again? 0-1, 1-0, 3-3, 2-2, 2-2, 1-2. I'm going to go with a majority. I think it's going to be a draw. I'm going to go Cardiff 2, Norwich 2. Could it go either way? It certainly could go either way, but if it goes either way, it's only going to be by 1 goal, and I would probably say 2-1 in either direction, but I'll go 2-2. And we move on to Hull City versus Portsmouth now, and this is a game that Portsmouth really do need to win. They certainly don't need a defeat. They need to be able to keep up that pressure on the 2 teams above them, and it's going to be quite difficult because they're playing a Hull City side that have been doing really well, but of late just took the foot off the gas. I think that 4-0 away defeat at Norwich City sort of really took the wind out of them, and then to play Sunderland, top of the league, although it was at home, and lose 1-0, that sort of, we're on a downer here, especially when we got Burnley straight after, but they played well against Burnley, and against a good Burnley side at home, 1-1. They should be proud of that. They did well. Burnley are an ex-Premier League side after all. And then they played Derby, and that was a dull game. And please, I did ask for a few comments from the Derby and the Hull fans in the last video. Please do tell me, did you think it was a dull game? Because when I was watching it, it's certainly not one for the football connoisseur or the neutral like me. But I'd love to hear from the Hull City and the Derby fans on that game, that 1-1 draw. What does it prove to me? Part of me wants to say it's going to be a 1-1, but I don't want to say 1-1. Who's not going to score? If anybody doesn't score, I think it'll be Portsmouth. If Portsmouth score, it's going to be in the first 3 minutes. I'm going to say that. So my actual score is going to be, what are you saying? 3-1, 2-1, 2-0, 2-1, 1-0 and 2-1. You're all saying Hull City. Now, I'm going to go with you. So I'm going to go with Hull City 1, Portsmouth 0. But if Portsmouth score in the first 6 minutes, this is going to end 1-1. There we are. That's my other little jokerish on there. I think that you're all right. I'm going to go with all of you. Hull City 1, Portsmouth 0. However, something says that Portsmouth could score in the first 6 minutes and just hold out for a 1-1 draw. And we go to Leeds versus Plymouth, and Leeds in third versus Plymouth in 21st. And this is going to be quite an interesting game, I think, because we've got a Leeds side that is doing really well, but the last time they scored 3 goals was 6 games ago, 3-0 against at home to Coventry, a 3-0 win. And Leeds since then are just not. I mean, the only time they've got 2, I suppose 3 clean sheets out of 6. I mean, actually, it's not actually too bad, is it? It's really, really difficult. I have put a score here. Plymouth, not very good away from home. They do need to solidify these away games. We know Plymouth are good at home. They score 2 or 3 at home regularly. Last season, most of their home games had them scoring 3. Let's have a look at their away form. Their away 1-0 defeat at Millwall. Away 5-0 defeat. 5-0 defeat away at Cardiff. Burnley 1-0 defeat away at Burnley. So it's really, really strange. I mean, Cardiff are obviously playing well at home, aren't they? So 5-0 is probably quite good for the fact that they're playing excellent at home. Plymouth, poor away. Leeds, really good at home. I can't see this being any different from what you're all saying. What are you all saying? 1-0, 3-0, 3-0, 3-1, 4-0, 4-0. I'm going to go Leeds 4, Plymouth 0. I'm sorry, and I do know I have subscribers who are Plymouth fans. I do apologise. I would love to say that it's going to be a 4-4 draw. You know, you could put up that brick wall and perhaps sneak a 1-1 but I can't see a winning performance from Plymouth. I do hope I'm wrong for the Plymouth fans and Plymouth supporters' sake, but I also have Leeds supporters following me as well. So I'm going to get shot either way, aren't I? I'm going to get dislikes either way. Please don't dislike just because I don't like this. I've given you a wrong score. Just give me a comment down below and tell me how wrong I am. It just ruins the YouTube shoving me onto the network and advertising the video. So try not to dislike me because I don't give you the right score. This is a little bit for fun, and it is obviously taking into account all of your predictions. And I don't have any predictions here that say Plymouth. And I always take into account your predictions. So unfortunately, I have to go with the majority and go 4-0 to Leeds. Borough versus Coventry. That said, it's going to be difficult all the way down. So Borough versus Coventry. And I know I have a couple of supporters up in the Middlesbrough region as well. This is going to be tough, isn't it? Because Coventry have been playing better. They certainly have been playing better. What is it? Going backwards, a win, a draw, a lose, win, lose. That last win, how the hell did they do that? Was it 2-0 down, wasn't it? And then 3-2 to come back to 3-2 win in the last dying embers of the Luton game. Was absolutely amazing. I love to watch it. But you go against a Borough team that I think they look really clinical, but they sometimes don't turn up, and that's my issue. They didn't turn up against Bristol City, and Bristol City, who turn up sometimes and don't turn up next. Look at the next prediction. Turned up and won 2-0 at Borough. So, you know, they can just not turn up. And if the other team is one of these like Bristol City that turns up and doesn't and did, you know, they end up being defeated. Watford did the same. Watford are doggedly determined. They're usually quite stable and you know what you're going to get with Watford. But they went to Watford and lost 2-1, knowing that Watford will play the same way and they keep on playing a certain style, at a certain level, and they will always be pretty decent. Um, so is the tactics wrong? Is there some tactical error here? And that's what it points to for me. I think Borough's just not got the tactical side of it right, because Watford away, aside with the technical abilities of Borough, should be putting them to bed. But they didn't. And I say they should because everybody knows what they're going to get at Watford. They know what they're going to come against. So it should be a case of being able to plan it and be more on top for more of the game. And I just thought Watford, came away 2-1 winners and they deserved it. Against a Coventry team that haven't been turning up, and then I'd say in the last 2 or 3 games, even that 1-0 away defeat to Preston, I think they played really well, and I think they played reasonably well in the 2-1 defeat to Sheffield Wednesday. And I think they've been getting gradually better and better, and I can see something in that Coventry side that's just turning. Again, something in me wants to say 1-1. Something in me wants to agree with someone who's said 1-1. What are you saying? 1-2 to Coventry, 1-1, 2-1, 3-2, 2-1, 2-1. So most of you are saying 2-1. I'm going to agree with most of you then. I'm going to go for Borough 2, Coventry 1. But it could be the other way around, because if Borough just do this tactical mess, that I just keep seeing something tactical that just change this, and they don't, and they go through the game until the last day in embers, change it, and you're far too late. Forget it. I think it could be either way. I'm going to go 2-1 Borough. Could be 2-1 Coventry. This, as one of you predicted. Preston versus Bristol City, and this is, like I said, this is Bristol City we're talking about, and Bristol City. I used to always say this about Bristol City fans. I feel really sorry for you when we were up there in the Championship, Rotherham United, because they always say, we turn up and we'll beat the best team in the league, and then we'll not turn up against the poorest at the bottom, and we'll lose or draw. And you think, and they used to get really annoyed back in the day when we were up there, and and then for a season or two it stopped, and they played well. They played consistently, and then this season they just seem to be turn up, don't turn up, turn up, don't turn up. They turned up against Leeds 0-0. Absolutely turned up. Stoke City 2-2. I actually think they did turn up for half the game there. And they won at Borough. They turned up. But, they seem to be starting to change it a little bit. And just, those poor performances just aren't in, I suppose, in the swingometer terms. They're not quite swinging. When they don't turn up, it's not a massive swing of the swingometer. Now, at least they're playing semi-decently, even if the fans think, come on, we know you can play better than this. So I think that Bristol City are improving quite a bit. And they're playing a Preston side who've been playing better as well. So we're getting two sides that are playing increasingly better and better. Now, if you look at where they are in the league, 16th versus 11th, you'd expect Bristol City to win this because of their position. However, it's so flat around that area. Let's just look at the table. It really is flat. Yeah, there's 2 points between them. Bristol City on 12th with 16 points. Bristol City 11th, 12 games, 16 points. Preston 16th, 12 games, 14 points. And you can see that there's very little between these two sides. And of late, and I think you can only take the last 6 games with these two sides because they have started to play better football, and certainly in the last 5 league games, Preston haven't lost one. And last 6 league games for Bristol City, not in League One. Bristol City, they've won one and drawn the others, similar to Preston. They've just won one as well against Coventry. So we got 2 teams with that one win in the last 6 games. And you think, right, okay, Preston North End, a couple of stats. Preston North End have lost 1 at home all season. But here it's away, home draw at Norwich, home win against Coventry, home win against Watford. So they are doing better at home, and they've only lost 1. So that's pretty good news for Preston fans. And against a Bristol City that are very good at drawing games. Draw, win, draw. And that includes a 0-0 against Leeds. Includes a win against Borough. It's so it's not just the lower teams or the middle teams. So what are you saying? I'm going to have to go with you because it could go either way, this. So I'm going to go with you lot. So what are you saying? 1-1, 1-1, 2-2, 1-1, 1-1 and 1-0 to Preston. Somebody thinks Preston will squeeze this. I think you're probably right. If someone wins this, it's going to be Preston, and Preston will keep that home run of just 1 defeat. But I'm going to go with Preston 1, Bristol City 1, purely on the fact that 95% of you lot are saying just that scoreline. So please do tell me if you think you're one of the others that think it's going to be a Preston win or a Bristol City win, and tell me what you think the score will be. So next it's QPR versus Sunderland, and Sunderland are on fire, isn't it? Never mind Will Griggs. So it's QPR who in 23rd versus Sunderland in 1st. And this would usually be a total whitewash. However, QPR have been showing that they can indeed put up a pretty good fight. 4 defeats, and then in the last 2, a draw 1-1 at home to Coventry, and a draw 0-0 away at Burnley. Now that was a dogged performance. I remember checking up on that for the review, and QPR were just putting up a brick wall and making sure that if they shoot, let them shoot from outside the box. They put 10 men in the box whenever there was a free kick or a corner or they had chance to pull people back. They just put so many people in that box, it was never going to get shot at goal unless they sort of curled it over the top. And I tell you what, it worked, and their plan worked a treat. Could it work a treat against Sunderland? Absolutely. Now, I'm going to go with most of you. But I'm going to also say something again like I did in previous games. So you're going 0-2, 0-1, 0-1, 0-0, 0-2, 0-2. So you're all going 0-2. I'm going to go with you. QPR 0, Sunderland 2. However, and there's a big however, it could be 0-0 if QPR just put up that brick wall like they did against Burnley, because that worked an absolute wonder. And the game plan was so meticulously put out by the manager and so meticulously put into play by the players that the fans could hear really enjoy this as a spectacle. Although a 0-0, it certainly wouldn't be a bore draw 0-0. So look out that QPR fans, because may not be going the way that everybody's predicting. We got Sheffield Wednesday versus Watford next, and Sheffield Wednesday in 13th versus Watford in 7th. And Sheffield Wednesday are quite good at home, aren't they? And just have a look at the stats. Sheffield Wednesday's home games: away, home 0-0 against Swansea, home 2-0 defeat against Burnley, but that is Burnley. Away. So most of the last 6 have been away from home, so they'll probably be quite happy to be at home, I think, after all those away games. However, 1, 2, 3, 4 away games, draw, win, draw. So they're actually doing quite well away from home as well. But their home form and how they play at home is really good, because the crowd really get behind them there, and it's that sort of old style stadium that echoes the home fans. They've designed it to all the home fans. The noise from the home fans is really good, and it echoes straight onto the pitch. The noise from the away fans just disappears. It does. And it's brilliantly designed for a home side. Absolutely brilliant. So I think, and I'm a Rotherham fan saying that, so I shouldn't be saying it. But, and they're playing a Watford side that just seem to be, they're very, very predictable. And I think that's their downfall. They just seem to be a little too predictable. They're very good, very consistent, but their style and and how they're going to play seems to be, it never seems to change. They're very good. I enjoy watching them. Their football technique and their class shows through against the Wednesday side that actually have been, I think, slightly improving class-wise, showing a little bit of ability. I think that Wednesday are quite good at home, and that they've only lost 1 in their last 6, whereas Watford have lost 3 in their last 6. I have to think that edges me towards Sheffield Wednesday. Could Watford turn it? If they do it, it's only going to be a sort of a 2-1, 2-0. Well, no, I think Wednesday are likely to score 2-1. 2-1 is probably the best they could hope for. But here, what are you saying? 2-1 to Sheffield Wednesday, 3-2, 2-1, 2-0, 1-1, or 2-1. I'm going to go with a majority again and go Sheffield Wednesday 2, Watford 1. We move. So Millwall versus Burnley, and then we've got a side. Burnley have drawn the last 4 of their last 6. Millwall have been really, really good at home, and they're starting to make the Den a fearful place to go again. Millwall going backwards, win, draw, defeat to away at Cardiff. Really weird one. Didn't turn up there at all. And then a win at home to Preston. Whereas, like we said, Burnley just haven't had that clinical ability up front. They seem to be just shooting or being forced to shoot from outside the box. And when they are on target, it's very rare. And it's not very... It's just... They appear to be wanting to do skillful shots that are... Once they're on target, they seem to do really well, and it's really a cracking shot that's either saved or goes in the net. But a lot of the time, they try and do a skillful shot that's going to get them this renowned game winner, and it just goes sky high or curls really nicely, but far past the far post. What are you all saying? Because this is quite a difficult one for me, because I can see Burnley at home are going to be really difficult to beat. Millwall at home are going to be really difficult to beat, but I'm looking at Burnley, which is why I said it then, and thinking, but it's Burnley. They've got Premier League class. And they show their class, but they're just not getting that bite, that technical finish that they need, and there's not enough goals. You don't expect them to score 2, 3, 4 goals. You expect them to score none or one. And I'm sort of puzzled at this, because I would normally think, Millwall in 10th, Burnley in 2nd. Got to go for Burnley, haven't you? 1-0, 1-0, 1-1, 2-2, 0-1, and 0-0, and it's really, really everybody's sitting on the fence and perhaps going 1 goal one way, or what's it, one person there, 2 goals to Burnley. I'm going to go with the majority-ish on this, and I'm going to go Millwall 1, Burnley 0, but I can't help but think that this is going to be a 1-1 draw. So don't be surprised if it is. That's Jon S Sports channel. if you don't like what I said, please do comment down below, and we'll try and review your comments. And remember, it is a little bit of fun, and everything I do is actually from you supporters. So I do actually look at what you supporters are saying. So it's not necessarily all my. If I say your side is going to lose, believe me, I may be just going with what the rest of my subscribers and people I'm looking at are saying. So there's Jon S Sports channel. Please do like and subscribe. I do need a hell of a lot more subscribers to be able to keep me doing this. So please do consider subscribing. Please do consider clicking the like so that YouTube show me on the screen a little bit more. If you do want to dislike, then please do consider just leaving a comment. It does screw up my my ability, YouTube putting me out and showing my little thumbnail to everybody. So please don't. It is a little bit of fun, and it is containing an awful lot of feedback from yourselves. So Jon S Sports channel, over and out. Please like and subscribe. One more week, over and out.